All right, let's talk about Pav Bhaji. I mean, just think about it for a second. That spicy, buttery, mashed up vegetable goodness served with those soft, warm bread rolls. It's amazing, right? But here's the thing you probably never thought about. This dish holds a fascinating secret, a real head-scratcher when it comes to blood sugar. And today, we're going to crack it wide open. This is the Pav Bhaji paradox.
You know the drill. We've been told forever that white bread, made from refined flour, is basically public enemy number one for your blood sugar. You eat it, and boom, your sugar levels are supposed to go through the roof. So looking at Pav Bhaji, you think it's a guaranteed recipe for a massive sugar spike. But is it really?
Now, to figure this out, we can't just rely on what we think should happen. We need some cold, hard data. We need a benchmark. And wouldn't you know it, the perfect point of comparison comes from another legendary Mumbai street food.
See, a little while back, the exact same blood sugar experiment was done on Vada Pav. You know, the spicy potato fritter stuffed into a white bread bun. And the results from that test, well, they're absolutely crucial for our little investigation here. Okay, this is the number I need you to burn into your brain. 54. After eating a Vada Pav, the blood sugar spike was a pretty significant 54 milligrams per deciliter. That's our baseline. Got it? 54.
So, here we are. It's the moment of truth. We've got our plate of Pav Bhaji. We've got our benchmark of 54 from the Vada Pav. Logically, you'd expect the Pav Bhaji result to be right up there with it, maybe even higher with all that butter, right?
So what's your guess? Do you think it's going to hit that 54 mark, maybe blow right past it? Or is there a twist coming that absolutely nobody expected?
And the result came in at just 31 milligrams per deciliter. 31. Yeah, I know. It's shocking. We were braced for something in the ballpark of 54, and instead we get a number that's way, way lower. This makes no sense at first glance. And this, my friends, is our paradox.
Just look at those numbers right next to each other. 54 versus 31. That's not just a little bit different. That's a huge gap. It's almost half. And that's the real mystery. Why? Both dishes feature white bread, both have potatoes. So what on earth is going on?
And when you see it as a bar chart, the difference is just staggering. That Vada Pav spike is practically a skyscraper compared to the one from Pav Bhaji. This visual really drives home just how wild this result is. So let's figure it out.
Okay, time to put on our detective hats, because this isn't magic, it's science. And after digging into the details, I think there are two really clear clues that completely unravel this whole puzzle. And here they are. It really boils down to two things. First, something super simple, portion size. And second, something a little more scientific, I'm calling the fat factor. Let's break them both down. Okay, so clue number one might just be the biggest piece of the puzzle. It turns out the Pav Bhaji in this test wasn't served with your standard full-sized bread rolls. They used mini Pavs. We're talking much, much smaller. So right off the bat, the total amount of carbs being eaten was way lower than in the Vada Pav test.
And now for our second clue, which comes from the true hero of the dish, all that glorious butter. That huge dollop of fat floating on top of the bhaji isn't just for flavor, it's playing a critical role here. Think of fat as a speed breaker for your digestion. It literally slows down how quickly your body absorbs the carbs. That means the sugar gets released into your bloodstream more slowly and gently, resulting in a much smaller spike.
So, now we've got our two major clues, a much smaller amount of carbs and a whole lot of butter. Let's put them together and see how they create the full picture.
And here's where it all clicks. The Vada Pav had a high carb load from the big bun and not a lot of fat, which led to that big 54 spike. But the Pav Bhaji, it had a low carb load because of the mini Pavs and a high fat content from all that butter. The result? A tiny spike of 31. So it's not just about the ingredients themselves, but the game-changing combination of quantity and composition.
This is all fascinating stuff, but beyond just solving this one food mystery, what's the big takeaway here? What does the Pav Bhaji paradox actually teach us that we can use in our everyday lives?
For me, it boils down to three huge lessons. First, and this is the big one, portion size can be an absolute game changer. Second, context is everything. What you eat with your carbs, like fat, fiber, or protein, can totally change how your body handles them. And finally, we've got to stop putting simple labels on food like good or bad. It's just so much more nuanced than that.
And really, if there's just one thing you remember from all this, let it be this idea right here. Sometimes, how much we're eating is way more important than what we're eating. Those little mini Pavs prove that in a big way.
And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. What do you think would have happened if the test used 2 full-size Pavs? Would that buttery speed breaker still have been enough to keep the spike at 31? Or would the bigger carb load have won out and sent that number soaring up towards 54? It really makes you think, doesn't it?